started, so I started my chapter with that, like, okay, just what is about using it. And then I went in on just this one. Okay, when we don't place, I probably did it before. It's like, you've been working, you so you have to go. It's fine. And it's going to be.
We can make it too long. Under 5. I found it's gotta be like under 5.
Got it?
Or yeah, you lose it.
So then we can try it.
Or I didn't know about that.
You know, they kind
Yeah.
of like,
All the time, before.
these designs. This one's that have scratches.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these suggestions, that's so catchy. Just, you know, just using the app. Makes sense? Okay. So that's helpful.
Yes, that makes sense, but it's like, you have to like, you have time and.
So do you have enough stuff?
Picture looks good.
I'm coming over in Jesus.
That's what we.
And then if you want to, it's like, you know, the height of my room is 10 feet.
We're doing like.
So there you go.
That's
And
what
then
they do with these
there's a
projects.
measure half court.
It's a lot
And
of
then just
pre-planning to
stuff.
get it supplies, to get everything, because you're not paying out of pocket.
So I introduced
I know some people do, but like some people
I
don't have that
do
ability.
because mine are abstract. Now I need this now.
Right,
But if
or you
you-
think of it on the fly. Like, this is why.
Like
I
playing for a
like
lab.
Like,
And
even
then-
if they're gonna have
oh,
the keystone
sorry.
biology and they want the project based along with it, well, tell me what you want me to do. Once we get some nice, but like, give me like, it's 70, give me 80% of it already covered. And then once we get enough percent, 20% of it. You know what I mean? Because right now they're like, hey, we want you to do this, and you figure it out, like, that's where we're at. And I'm too old to figure it out, like, I just want to
You're
like.
not. I know, it's easy when someone, just picture like being my student.
But anyway.
When someone tells, like as a student, and I heard some of my juniors say today, I'm enjoying this, but it would be easier if, and given as far as the teacher, yeah, it would be easier if someone told me exactly what to do. But again, I guess, think about your outcomes.
If you're teaching all these different classes, like I'm a station that could be set up for like, but now I got another kid saying, now I gotta move that, now I gotta move this.
Right.
If I'm teaching like bio.
All day long.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, I know. I had to try to stagger, I had to try to stagger, and now with testing coming up tomorrow, I'm like, at least my room isn't being tested in, because there have been years where my room was used for testing, and I was in the middle of doing like the Rube Goldberg projects, like the poems I can't, like.
one?
That's why I think if you try to figure out school, wait, it's like one primary, so that's like, and your room is set up for that all day long.
I'm just looking to see where she
Yeah.
attached it. She attached it somewhere. There's 180.
And like the supplies and the pre-planning and stuff like that has to.
The pre-planning, that takes a while,
Yeah.
that takes a while.
That's what I mean, if it was canned already, then you can be like, okay, I know that I need this, this, and this,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like AP stuff. Like, they used to be canned, and you get all the supplies, and you're kind of like, you know, like.
So feel free to keep writing, I know that some of you are still writing, I was gonna play music, but I'm still.
Yeah, like those kids, like demos or kids.
But guys, it's gonna play anyway, so.
Jen is using technology.
I know, she's looking things up. So I saw Jen over there doing her trig project, but does your, and it's not going to look exactly like this. And maybe you didn't do horizontally, you probably wrote vertically, perhaps. But you start off, they tuned you out after you started talking. You know it, you know, I not only do I have the students here, you know, when you have some at home, you got the same thing. Okay, so you opened your mouth, they're like, peace out, I'm zoning out, you got a window in your room, they're looking out the window, they're looking at the back of somebody's head, they're looking, they're somewhere else. So you went through that lecture, perhaps you had a little opener, like maybe it was a little video, I heard somebody do a video clip, you know, there was a little something, yeah, you got them. You know, because they're used to like, hey, I watch my YouTube shorts, you know, they got that. You got them hooked with the video. You might give them homework assignment. I know this doesn't have like homework assignment in. Maybe you give them a worksheet. Maybe you give them 2 worksheets. And then you come back the next day, you either go over the answers to the worksheet. Right, you want me to do that yet? That's okay. I used to do that for like 20 years. And it didn't work. Because they copied off of each other. So do I keep doing that, or do I go, all right, I'm gonna rip these worksheets up right in front of you because I saw you copy, and I ripped pages out of the back of people's books because no, you're not gonna copy the answers. But there's so many other places that they're getting their answers from now, so how do we get them and keep them hooked? Why do we need to keep going through this? Because this already looks overwhelming. Well, we have a way to set the stage. You know, when you go to a performance or you go out to dinner somewhere, there's so many other things going on, depending on where you're going to dinner or depending on what the performance happens to be. And perhaps, you know, you get them hooked somehow in the very beginning and you spark something and it's something that is connected to them. And like, how is their buy-in? You know, they just read Animal Farm, right?
Yes, yeah.
So why? Oh, you don't have to answer this, but why? What's the point? Because those kids, you know, I have one at home, why are we reading this? You know, so why are we doing this? Why are we reading this? What am I getting from this? Where am I ever gonna need this? And then we come back with the, well, you need to know how to read, or you need to know, like we come back with those, but how can we make that reading important? What is the connection? Can we bring it into present day, here we are, United States, and maybe you did, I don't know, but, because my son doesn't really talk to me, but, you know, how do we make it so that, you know, learning about fruit flies, okay, I've seen fruit flies, all I want to do is smack them out of the way, but, or they fall into my drink and then I don't want them there, but how do I make that important for the students? And on top of that, how do I get that cycle of, okay, we're doing this, and now we're gonna learn a little bit, because I gotta keep you hooked, but I gotta keep you there, and that's tough. That's a balancing act. So how do we get something that looks as chaotic as this, but it keeps them in the loop? Because if we don't have that loop, I'm just gonna back the other thing, lost them in the beginning, you know, we're quizzing them, and they're like, I don't even know, and then it's what did I get wrong? I got this on the quiz. Like they're focused on the grade. They're focused on the grade. They're focused on getting their work done because they want the check mark. I got it. I did it. I don't know how I did it, and I didn't learn anything from it, but I got it done, and I submitted my work. So how do we flip that and get them to want to do something? Like get them to want to lock in. Get them to want to create something or make something. So, perhaps with what you have there, I know I need to watch my time, but perhaps with what you have there, if you had the worksheet or the project or something that you most recently did, in order to move a project forward, so if I want to build a house, I need to know what type of house I want to build. You know, my husband and I would build our house. We design the house. But I need to have a question for them. I can't come in and be like, we're going to learn about velocity acceleration. I know, I saw your paper. We're going to learn about this today. Okay, this is what it is. Boom, 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 boom. And now we're going to go do something. Why don't we flip that? Let's do it, and we'll learn along the way. So give them a purpose. Police officers, traffic engineers, civil engineers, you know, they need to know this. Maybe when you're driving, since your students are close to 14, 15, 16 years old, you're gonna be driving soon, you might need to know about velocity acceleration. So as a young driver, what is the braking distance necessary so that you don't rear end the person in front of you? Now there could be a collision. That's exciting, I'm 14. Collisions are cool, right? So but then you can still teach that. Because then you got them. They're like, no wait, she talked about a crash. Or she talked, whatever it happens to be that's more relevant to whatever it is you're doing. So right now, think about what it is that you just did in your class today or that you brought with you. See if you can phrase the driving question. And I say it's only draft 1 because some of my driving questions were probably the 5th or 6th draft. And you'll see them on there. I think I have at least on one of them. This is my driving question. This drives the program, or drives the unit so that my students, they know that there are standards present, they know that they're like taking on something. I think it's on this one too, the one that has the cover page. It's okay, I think this is the one that's on that handout too. So I had 2 driving questions for them. And you don't have to go through all the stuff, but try to come up with a driving question based upon something you are currently teaching. Like, who needs to know? Who needs to know this? Okay? Who needs to know what you're doing? Why do I need to know this? Am I going to be a doctor? Am I going to be a chemist? I'm not going to be any of those things. So why do I need to know this? And you gotta beat them to that question with your own question. Feel free to write it down for yourself, talk to your person. And we'll try to share out a little bit, and if it's a little shaky, that's okay.
Yeah, does the driving question relate back to the lesson or can?
It depends. Honestly, it depends. Some of the modules or units, they can be really small. Okay, so maybe your driving question is more simple. This was 3.5 weeks driving question. So this was the overall PBL, project-based learning module unit for physics. We're just wrapping it up now. They're in the reflection stage. So if you brought in something, a part of something that's bigger, think about the bigger part. Like, what are we learning about? And sometimes it may not feel right, and it may not fit. Yes, come to you. I would love to come over to you.
There you go.
Oh, this is
So, I'm just saying, because you've taught this before, and I've done a project last year, did the students get any credit when I told them last year?
I
Did
know,
you have to
right?
reteach?
Yeah.
Because this is about the law sign law cosine,
Right,
so
right.
they did it with me with the
Right.
project. So my
So-
question is
Oh,
from
yes.
past, before the project, to students this year, do you think anything changed?
So I taught a lot less. I gave them a lot less.
So do
I
you think that they
actually,
remembered that project that I did?
possibly. I want to show some of their work at the end, and that may help you. I honestly really detailed that. And it feels weird to say I'm teaching different things. They can look at a formula, they can throw things into a formula. I don't have to go up there and give them
And she's in
15 examples.
Was retired.
to do that.
She went
I
to
can say,
college,
okay,
they
law of
said
science,
you
this is
can't
where I want you to use it.
You're not.
Let's show me that you're using it.
For
And
it.
so,
She went
did
to
they
school
remember
in
the law of
60s,
science?
so
Yes.
not even.
did they remember the law of cosines? Yes. Even Randy.
Did they say anything, oh, we did this in Mrs. H's room, but,
I actually,
Did I say that out loud?
listen, I'm having a private conversation.
Apparently not.
I know,
actually, I might have said,
did something
we
like this,
did, I know what you did in geometry.
because I helped her make the project.
So, my goal
You're
more
right.
was for, I know, we heard about it all during.
Wait,
the study period.
What?
Yes, and they're like, are you committed? And I'm like, I'm just gonna walk away. But,
Okay.
yes, I got me sidetracked.
Sorry.
My brain.
That was the mind-blowing experience.
That was a driving question of the day.
Yes. So they knew and I knew, and I think I still was going forward with this because it gives it, it's something different for them. Okay, so I'm thinking like, what are you doing in this class? What are you doing in this class? What are you doing in this class? And I'm telling you, I wanted to video them today, but I didn't know what was going to happen. They're coming back from a break. They came in, they got their phone boards, they were like,
While
hey, blah, blah,
maintaining
blah.
velocity.
And I,
Oh, let's do that.
hands off, like no more training wheels, because they knew the expectations, they knew where we were going for the rest of the week, they're excited to do it.
Here,
And they have some really good journals, like, some of them really took the time.
I know the word, I don't know how to spell it.
And that's
But
where you
it's
get
the way
to
it
assess their
sounds to the
knowledge.
ear.
You know, so it's not a quiz. Did I give quizzes? I did give little quizzes, but I don't give tests like I used to. I don't. I don't have time to sit there and grade the same thing over and over again. The rubrics do take time, but there are so many resources out there that have they're very editable, you know, so that even the things that I've used here, there's a template and I just kind of, you know, there's mistakes. It's something. You start with your first one and you just kind of like go back and like, what is important? What do I want them to know? Do I want them to know? And that's why I went over to the standards. And I list the standards because what do I want them to know? I want them to be able to collaborate, or I want them to be able to, you know, do some sort of, I'm looking at my IST stuff, like, okay, what can be touched on in this project? And I want to be intentional about it. I want to be intentional about my standards. And I want them to know that these are the things that are important for this particular whole entire unit.
Is this,
Analyze poetry.
who is Brandon's on?
Poet is like the artist, obviously.
Well, this was, okay, so this one was the one that I did last year.
Yeah, it's the
This is the
person
same one I'm doing now, but now it's
So
it's
not the
different
same.
from that a little bit.
Not always the same, because we don't.
So is it
Brandon
Federer?
Federer, Bryce Federer?
Yeah, okay, I didn't know if
Yeah.
this is dead.
So I have to
Bryce
teach
Depp.
my
Yeah.
kids the difference.
This year, what I did with Tinkercad is I actually had them go through and do a tutorial. And I found that to be more beneficial because at the end of every one of these,
It's all being recorded.
We're reading the driving questions. They're great.
Do you know what that is?
No,
I
never.
never.
Oh my
I
God.
don't think they're that bad. Are
Oh,
they that
no, don't worry.
bad? Okay.
Okay, first off, it's Steve laughing at me, so it's me, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the question?
I'm doing a project and it's like, a designing project. Like
Okay.
designing clothes.
Okay, awesome.
We are on the lesson with clothing and.
So they're designing at the same time that they're learning the articles of clothing?
No, it's yeah, so how do I make it that it goes to the learning
That's
style
gonna be hard.
instead of making a project at the end? How do I change it?
Just suggestions. Again, I would stick to what are your standards that you want to hit?
I don't use any, because.
You do. You have some ELA ones in there. You do. You have some
I do,
ELA ones in there.
I do, but I don't
Okay.
use them.
Okay, we could sit down, I would totally sit down with you and like say, hey, you're hitting this standard, you're hitting this standard, you're hitting this standard. Because are they working together or by themselves?
By themselves, they are going to create a poster and they have to create the outfits.
Okay.
With everything, shoes, accessories, and everything. And at the end of the project, they have to create something tangible. Some are designing a dress and making it.
Oh, awesome.
And some are like, two kids bought a pair of shoes and they are embroidering it.
Okay.
Or doing the shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another one is a shirt that they make.
Like they said.
Okay.
No, you didn't.
You
So,
said you're gonna live.
yes, outside, that's what I said,
That's what's
outside.
principle.
Yeah.
They said it's
I would say there has to be check-in points, because sometimes with these projects, even if it's like a regular old school project, if some students, I was gonna say most, but let's just say some students might wait till like the last minute, and then it becomes a bigger project. But have check-in points, and at those check-in points, you need to know this, maybe you'll have a vocab list, I don't know.
I do.
And separate the vocabulary. By this time, I wanna see what you have that represents this portion of the vocabulary. And if they're making it in front of you too.
Yeah, they are.
So if they're making
They're
it,
not allowed to take it out of the classroom.
I do that too. But for the most part, it happens here. Because then I know that they're the ones who are doing it, they're the ones who are, And it's about the collaboration. In the pre-calculus trig class right now, I have them in groups, but they each have to do their own thing. But they're in groups because they're there to help each other. So that could be something, because it's about being able to collaborate. I'm still doing my project. You know, I'm still having my end result after my whole, you know, design, and I still have that. And my neighbor still has that too, but I'm stuck on something. And my neighbor's right here. I don't have to keep going up to my teacher all of the time, because my neighbor's right here, and we're going through similar things, not the same thing. You know, we might be doing something different, but we're all sitting in a group, and I group them differently too. Like, that is entirely, you know, your class, so do you group them with friends? Do you let them work with who they want to work with, or do you say, okay, no? And this last time, they were not very happy with their groups, which was awesome, because too bad. You're going to have to be able to communicate with various people at various times in your life. You suck it up, do the best you can, this is what you have. So I would just suggest, again, go back and think about the standards that you're going to hit, and have them document along the way too. And that's really important. And I do want to show some of, get them to journal in Google Slides. And I think that helps them stay on task. And, you know, I'll give a deadline and be like, okay, tonight I'm gonna go home. I don't always get to it, but they don't know that. Tonight I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna look at everybody's slide for the today. I don't usually, I'm like, oh yeah, good job guys. Or like sometimes I actually do have the opportunity to go through it, and then I'll send out a mass email. Hey, by the way, remember that you need to, you know, update your slides. And so it's just a journal for them. And then it's a way for me to assess, you know, are they staying on task? Do they know the knowledge, like sine, cosine, tangent stuff, law of sines, I should say. Does anybody want to share out what they have for a driving question? No? It's okay if it's just like.
Mine is probably not a good, I'll read mine.
It's okay.
Because my project, we're getting ready to do it. For some reason, we English teachers enjoy doing poetry in spring, I don't know. But anyway, I do an abstract ideas explored writing with extended metaphor. And we use the example of Emily Dickinson's Hope is the Thing with Feathers as the template. But anyway, I said, how can a poet adhere to the rhythm of a specific form of poetry while maintaining the prosody, which means the rhythm, and sustaining the focus of the speaker? So you want it to have that melodic sound, but you could be writing about the beach or baseball or whatever.
Do you have them share out?
Well, yeah, well, what
Or
we do
record
is, when I start this, is what I do is, I show them examples from past years, which usually gets them jazzed up because they have cousins and relatives, you know. And then, I can't tell you how many of these I end up writing a year, because they quit. It's awful. But, you know, I'm like, what do you want to write about? I want to write about love. Okay, let's do that, you know? And then I say, now it's a riddle, so we're not really going to say what you're comparing it to. For example, I forget if it was Paige Mitchell. It was either Paige Mitchell or the blonde, I don't know, the other one. I forget her name. But anyway, she compared it to a roller coaster. And it was pretty cool, like the twists and the turns, and never said roller coaster,
Okay.
but that's what love is like. And then she drew a picture of a roller coaster. But anyway, that's hard for them to do that. I'm like, don't say what it is. Just make it a metaphor, but there is rhythm to it. I usually quit, then I'm like, oh, forget the rhythm. Let's just get this done. I'm like, just, you know what? Looks great, four-wheelers are my life,
But
perfect.
for your question you have about a poet, like, what if I'm gonna say, but I don't wanna be a poet?
Well, that's what, well, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I gave out, today I gave out story starter cards. I bought them 20 years ago. Mike and I shared them. I gave it out to my very small creative writing class today. And a certain sophomore who I won't share, but regardless said, what if I don't find a picture that speaks to me out of these 100? And I said, then I guess you'll have to find your own picture that speaks to you, cause you're gonna write a story. I mean, but yeah, just devil in me with
Yeah.
like, this is lame, you know? And I'm like, oh, you're lame. Did I say that wrong?
You did, it's recorded. It's recorded. No, good job. Anybody else wish to share their driving question or what they have thus far?
I'm just gonna go back to Trish's idea. So when I was doing my project, Amanda said to have like a check-in date, and that holds them accountable. So not only in your journal or whatever,
Right.
have check-in dates. And literally my check-ins were 10 points a day.
Yes.
Because it was like a work, they had to do
Yes.
one problem, they had to take a picture, and, okay, I pretended I needed to check it, well, I am not good at that at all. But when the next check-in day was, I made sure that I gave them back the rubric, I told them that they lost points, so they could have done it the day before, and I would have given them full credit, but they didn't go back.
Mhm.
So the check-in dates, I think, really held them accountable, and I like the check-in dates or the journal entries or
Yeah.
documentation, but I think then the students, because it was 180 points, and 50 of it was just check-in, so you're already down to a 130 if you didn't do any check-ins.
Mhm. Yeah, I like the document thing because I did earlier in the year, in January, I did a poster project. And I did have strong, I don't even know if it's strong academic, but people with get up and go, working with people that got up and went. And so, yeah, and the ones who, actually, the one student said to me, please don't do that to me again. And I was like, I know. And they just said, and so if I would have had them documenting who did what portion,
Yeah.
like hold them accountable.
Yeah, which with your online calendar, do you tell them that there's points for today's assignment?
There's
You
only so
can do
much-
that too.
There's only so much space in the calendar, and one of the things that I had considered, like, for future iterations of this would be to have an additional calendar for like assessment. So
Yeah.
like, so that it helps me.
Yeah. It
There's
holds us
so many other
accountable too.
things. It helps me, it helps them, and then they know. They did know when like pop quizzes, because I'd be like, pop quiz, like it's no longer a pop quiz anymore, but you know, assessment, I think I called it assessment, law of science. So they knew. I didn't have to remind them, because sometimes I forget to update my board, like, things happen, and they had it all there, and I was back and forth on, do I give them the ability to edit? And I'm like, I'm not ready for that yet, too many squirrels in that group. So, you know, I guess it depends, like if with my seniors, I probably could have given them the ability to edit. Anybody else, I don't know. But like, you know, to have that like 10 points, 5 points, just to have it like boom, then they know, then there's no question, because that's, how much is this worth? Do I need to do this? Okay, boom, there it is. If you wanna do it, great, if not,
And you were
That's
grading
on
it along, like, the exact same time, so when I got to the end and it was 180 points, I thought it would take forever to grade third, fourth, seventh, and eighth period, so that's like 50 kids. And I literally got it done because I only needed to grade the last couple of slides because everything else was graded.
Mm-hmm, that's awesome.
Yeah, I do like the check-ins.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It's accountable.
so I'm gonna show this video, you probably already saw this video before. And then if you're, and I know your time is precious, so if you need to check out, but I will also pull up, for those of you who are interested, some of what is happening right now with the trig students, with their project-based learning unit, with the LAMP, and what is happening with the, it's okay, Jen, and what is happening with the physics students when they were teaching the students with special needs last week. And let me just, did anybody see this video before? So I think we take the easy way. We do. And it is a lot of work up front to get something that people will want to do.
That's fun.
there's my driving question for you. You don't have to answer it, but, you know, the truth is, it's, if other teachers did it, students would be even more open to it when they come into your classroom. And it would almost be part of their culture and their expectations. You know, today, back to the whole fun theory, the inquiry, like I said, 7th period, the bell didn't even ring yet. The bell didn't even ring. I didn't have to say, get out your book, get out this. Like, think about those things that you say at the beginning of some of your classes, maybe all of your classes. I don't mean to say that. So, do you have any questions? A lot of the things I didn't go into up here, they are linked out before you leave if you're interested. Let me pull up. If you want to join the classroom page, so that you have, I have some things already populated there. If you're interested in joining now, feel free to join now. If you're not interested in joining now, I'll send it out to you anyway, and you can join. I don't think I have the slides on there, but I want to put the slides on there. There's just so many other resources. I know Kareen had mentioned about, like, well, I want something that's done for me. There are so many things that are done out there, and you just take it and adapt it and, you know, make it
Just for like planning purposes. like,
Yeah,
so you
absolutely.
know, like how much space do you need, how much quantity, how many students.
I just-
Like, that's
How
everything.
do I start?
I just took the picture of the.
You know, how do I start with something like this? And I say start small. I started very small. And my first one, I planned out for 2 weeks. And then after that, I was what I was gonna do, how else can I get them to do things, and then it just kind of grows.
Thank you, Mrs. Killian, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wait, I need that going back up there.
Oh, man, I wanna pull up some
DJ
things.
66, DJ.
Do you wanna keep your case?
Oh, that's, yeah, it doesn't matter, you can take it with you, I have copies of it, I don't need it. If you need to fall asleep tonight and you wanna read over that, it may help you relax before, you know.
Oh.
bed.
All right, I'll put these. But I'll
For those of
keep
you
my
who are
hours.
sticking around, I am gonna